Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Amir Shid, Associate Professor of Pediatrics. Today, my topic of discussion with you people is a very important clinical presentation in pediatrics, emergency as well as in clinics, and the very much the parents are much concerned about this complaint, and that is the abdominal pain. And the part of abdominal pain which we will discuss today is that is the recurrent abdominal pain. Remember, every child feels somewhat kind of pain in the abdomen at any stage, any age. But when this is so frequent the routine functioning of the child is disturbed, then we call it as a recurrent abdominal pain. That there are at least three episodes of pain at least monthly, or it is recurrent pain for at least 3 months of period. So we define that pain as recurrent abdominal pain. Some people say that it is not necessary that the pain to be for 3 episodes, maybe many episodes, or it is continuous for 3 months. Chronic pain is, we define that type of pain or over a large experience over last 40 years is that episodic pain which interfere the normal functioning of the life for at least 3 months. Remember why this recurrent abdominal pain is important for us. It is not important only for us, but also for the parents, because they are much concerned about the cause of pain of their child, and the child is in distress. Say that the child that maybe that he is off from the school, and his sleep is disturbed, and so on. When all these, when the child is disturbed, the parents are much worried. So they compel you people, the doctor, their family physician, that the what is the exact cause of pain. They want to know the cause of pain, and then you have to go for investigations. Although you may be clinically knowing there is no organic cause of pain, but because the parents are worried of their child, which is disturbing them during their studies and also in their routine life, so you have to investigate. So the family become concerned, and the many of uh, complications starts regarding psychogenic facts. Recurrent abdominal pain may be due to some simple cause, or maybe there no cause, and simply it may be due to constipation, due to some infection, localized, and so on. And when there is no cause of organic cause of abdominal pain, we label it as an functional abdominal pain. So functional abdominal pain is that when there is no organic cause. Under this, we consider irritable bowel syndrome, this dyspepsia, and the functional abdominal syndrome. That all comes under the heading of functional abdominal pain. Recurrent abdominal pain has been seen in about 10 to 15% of the children, and it is more common in the school going children, especially the ages 4 and between 4 and 12 years of age. The pain may be due to uh, some attention, to divert attention of the parents, or some related to the some school attendance and so on. So you have to know the cause of pain. If we consider that what is the exact cause, what is pathophysiology of pain, then we must know that there are so many factors. The common factors which are concerned with the recurrent abdominal pain in the pediatric age group, some diet can cause in pain, anxiety, depression related to studies of with the parents child relationship, these, and some you can have along with that vomiting, you can have some pale skin, and the child is so much disturbed that he is not taking part in the daily activities of the life and so on. Then what is exactly the cause? Initially, there was some problem when some investigations are not available now because the advancement and many different kind of latest investigation like breath hydrogen test for carbohydrate malabsorption and malabsorption syndromes, radiological studies and so on, they are available. So you can go for all these investigation to confirm the cause if the parents are much concerned. Usually, a pain which is around the umbilicus is a non-organic cause most of the, not always, but most of the time it is a non-organic cause which is around the umbilicus. And with the pain which is away from the umbilicus may be some organic cause. That is, a pain may be an epigastric region with some indigestion, that is a non-ulcer dyspepsia, which also come under the heading of non-organic, that is functional abdominal pain, that is non-ulcer dyspepsia. So a pain which is in the epigastric region with indigestion is more favoring non-ulcer dyspepsia, and periumbilical abdominal pain is more related to the non-organic cause, that is functional abdominal pain. And whenever you go away from the umbilicus, like you are in the right hypochondrium, upper part, or in the lower part, right iliac fossa or lumbar region, then it is most likely organic cause and you have to rule out those causes. Then comes what causes the abdominal pain. Like in adults, I mentioned that non-ulcer dyspepsia, one of the type of recurrent abdominal non-organic pain, functional abdominal pain. The other cause is irritable bowel syndrome. Like in adults, when the child is having recurrent attacks of abdominal pain, more than 3 stools per day, and there are blood or mucus, or there are tenesmus and pain and mucus and bloating and indigestion, incomplete evacuation, then you also label it like in adults an irritable bowel syndrome, which is more or less related to the psychogenic disturbance of the child. You know that, remember, the gut has its brain, that is the center, the nervous system of the brain that is related to the central nervous system. So in these children it has been seen, which commonly feel recurrent attacks of pain, that there are low threshold in the gut for this stimulus for the abdominal pain in the gut, and also the interpretation of the afferent fibers in the central nervous system for the pain is disturbed. So due to low threshold in the gut, which is the enteric, we call it, also the gut brain of the brain of the gut, then we look for those that the brain of this gut in these children which are of recurrent abdominal pain, they have low threshold, so minor disturbance physically, mentally, or some distension due to constipation can result in the start of the cascade of the pain in these children. So I mentioned you that the gut system, nervous system is related to the central nervous system. So that is interlinked of both these. Remember one thing, that there are so many causes of abdominal pain, but because most of the time it is in less than 10% of cases the pain is organic, and mostly it is the non-organic cause of abdominal pain, recurrent abdominal pain. So we are more concerned with those causes. But if we want to know that what other factors, what other causes pain abdomen, commonly in recurrent abdominal pain in pediatric age group, they among those that list the amongst the renal causes, some stones, UTIs, pyelonephritis, hydronephrosis may be the cause. In the chest, the pneumonia that in the lower part that may result in the dominant pain, especially on the right side. Porphyria, one of the cause of abdominal pain. Angioedema, that can present only other than the skin lesions, may not be there, but patient can present recurrent abdominal pain. You must not miss sickle cell anemia and school phobias, the drugs like NSAIDs, and so on. So there is a long cause organic list of these causes, and then it is important that you have to differentiate that this pain is organic or non-organic clinically. You are the family physician, the patient comes to, the parents are worried, they want to know the cause of the pain which is disturbing their child at night and affecting the school activities. So you have to know clinically that what is the cause, either it's organic or non-organic, or you have to to investigate this patient or not, and what kind of investigations are required. These are the important questions in these patients. So if we consider that organic, the and organic or non-organic cause, we have to differentiate clinically. One differentiating point I mentioned you that a pain around the umbilical is more a non-organic than away from the umbilicus. Associated sign and symptoms like fever, like vomiting, diarrhea, bloody diarrhea, mucus, blood in the stool, and systemic feature, joint pain. Other disturbance is like dark urine or urine related complaints or some cough and so on. These are important ones regarding the organic causes. Then it will favor the organic cause. A pain disturbing the child at night may be relating to the organic cause, but sometimes even in non-organic causes, the child may be disturbed at night. But usually the pain which is disturbing the sleep pattern, that is more or less an organic cause. Uh, so repeated vomiting, persistent vomiting, or blood containing in the vomit. So these all are the features which favor the organic cause. If the child is losing weight, is not feeling well, is not thriving well, is not growing well, all these are organic, amongst the organic cause. In these cases, you have to rule out the organic cause of the pain. And a pain which is not disturbing at the night, which is more or less in the school hours or study hours, or concerned with some demand of the child to the parents, or there is history of psychosocial disturbance of the child, and then that is a non-organic cause of pain. And you have to rule out non-organic cause, and I mentioned you amongst those the four important non-organic cause, that is functional dyspepsia, non-ulcer dyspepsia, and this functional abdominal syndrome, non-organic, and irritable bowel syndrome. These are the causes which are important to rule out these other than the organic causes. These are the non-organic causes. So the type, the pattern of pain, what is the period of pain, and all these questions, they are important. As I mentioned you that weight loss and growth, vomiting and all the factors, they are also the family history of inflammatory bowel disease. So remember, and history, and then examination regarding the weight, height and growing charts on centile charts. They are important, that how the child is going, the blood pressure, and clinically the skin lesions you have to look for, like porphyria, anemia, and so on, keeping in mind the sickle cell and so on, even the vertebral pain, the joints and so on. So these are the systemic features which you have to look for in these patients. Remember, there are some factors which cause the start of pain, result in the pain, and the patient start that pain, and so that are interrelated. And more of these changes are more concerned with the hormonal effects due to some psychogenic stressful conditions in the home or in the school, So you have to look for those factors also. It has been suggested by many pediatricians that in these patients which are of recurrent abdominal pain, they have visceral hyperalgia, GCS. That is, their pain threshold is very high, low threshold. So they start pain with a very minor stimulus can result a severe pain in these patients. Not only that, this also I mentioned you previously that the afferent signals which are interpreted at the central nervous system, they are processed abnormally in these patients. Although there is already stimulus is threshold is low, there are gut brain is disturbed, and also the afferent system is interpretation in the central nervous system is also abnormal in these children. So it does not mean that only the child is malingering, that there is no cause and it is only functional, but it means that child is really maybe feeling pain, and for that reason these are the causes for why without any organic cause the child in non-organic pain feeling like this because of these factors. So many studies have been done, and in Esfagon and this AAP, they have their interpretation by 30 general pediatricians show that functional abdominal pain was considered an unclear diagnosis by 16% of responder, and a specific diagnosis was made only in 11% of the responders. So there is ambiguity and confusion between these definitions of recurrent abdominal pain and the cause of pain. I mentioned you that this pain is common between 4 to 12, but it can be seen up to the 18 years of age, recurrent abdominal pain. So it is one of the most common cause of chronic abdominal pain in pediatric age group, and I have listed the cause of that. Then comes then how to and when to investigate. Remember, when parents are over concerned, they are over conscious, over concerned, and their child is disturbed, then they will disturb you also. So you are the family physician, you are managing those patients, you are treating their child, so you have to give them the exact diagnosis. For that purpose, you have go for the investigations. So when you are doubtful that it's organic cause or non-organic cause, then you will go for investigation. There are some alarm symptoms or signs which give you the clue to go for the investigation. Especially that there is weight loss, there is growth is impaired, there are some blood loss in the GI, persistent vomiting or persistent diarrhea is there, there is a right upper or right lower quadrant pain, there is fever or unexplained physical findings. All these are favoring for the investigations. Remember, there is a long list of investigation, but you have to go for not all the investigations or at all. It's your choice to go for the investigation. But the basic investigation like stool complete for ova cyst, urine complete examination for any RBCs or UTI, and sometimes the CBC showing and ESR showing the chronicity of the disease and some underlying infection, and can these are the basic investigation. Sometimes you have to go for the BSR and also the specific gravity of the urine, and sometimes ultrasound abdomens. So remember, these are the important one, and you have to educate the family that what is the exact cause. They want to know the exact cause of pain. The exact cause of pain, you have to give the clue that it is not only that the child is malingering or causing, or there is no pain and child is asking for pain. Actually there is some mechanism, and explain that mechanism to the parents so that they come to know the exact cause of the pain. So to reassure these parents and then the patients, you have to investigate, and then you will come across some diagnosis so that you can better explain this, and in future you can handle these patients in a better way. You have to go the psychotherapy of these patients as well as the family. That is very important regarding the management point of view. Sometimes you have to go for the drugs, and what kind of drugs? That simply sometimes you can use the paracetamol, sometimes ibuprofen for functional dyspepsia. You can use some antacids and so on. You have to use placebo. You can use these drugs to calm down the child or to the parents, and overall that so that they are satisfied. Uh, but you must know the exact cause of that pain. Sometimes you use these psycho therapies and stimulating laxative, and sometimes the antidiarrheal. People recommend that some kind of diet is also important, that can, but not the lactose free formulas or diet that is important. A fibrous diet can work better in these patients. The peppermint oil in the form of pterygotic capsules, they are also used in irritable bowel syndromes, and in dyspepsia you can use famotidine, which is quite safe. Some people in abdominal migraine, remember one of the cause of recurrent abdominal pain, they use Pazartifen and drugs like these. So, a functional abdominal pain syndrome is that at least 6 months of continuous or near continuous type of pain, and pain is not lingering, and some loss of daily function, that daily routine is disturbed in these patients. I would like to give you some point along with this recurrent abdominal pain, that is a part of your examination, that is that amongst the infectious causes of pain, you sometimes come the question regarding the management of these amoebiasis and giardiasis. Amoebiasis and giardiasis are those infections in our setup which are very common, and in pediatric age group are a leading infectious cause of abdominal pain. This amoebiasis, due to entamoeba histolytica, that is, you have recurrent abdominal pain in lower part of the abdomen, and sometimes there are blood and mucus in the stool, and there are recurrent attacks of diarrhea and so on. So you have to treat with this amoebiasis with metronidazole, that is given in 30 to 50 milligram per kg in 3 divided doses, that is for 7 to 10 days. This is the recommendation of amoebiasis. And giardiasis is due to Giardia lamblia, that is one of the cause of recurrent abdominal pain, infectious cause, along with the weight loss and also the malnutrition, resulting in malnutrition. So you have to look for these causes also. And when Giardia is there, there are tenesmus, pain abdomen, there is weight loss, and stools are very foul smelling in these patients, and you can confirm amoebiasis and giardiasis from the stool examination. And for giardiasis, you can use metronidazole and for 5 days, and tinidazole and albendazole. These drugs can be used. Remember, these examination point of view, these two infections, amoebiasis and giardiasis, they are important for you people, along with other causes of recurrent abdominal pain. So I am hopeful that you will be understand all these the causes of recurrent abdominal pain, and what is really a recurrent abdominal pain, and most of the time, because in pediatric age group, the cause is non-organic. So you have to know what is that non-organic cause, and you have to rule out the organic cause. That's all for today. Inshallah, we will see the next time, the next topic of GI.